The James Show Podcast.
My next guest, Dr. Bo Kabbalah, he does political science at Tarleton State University. And one of the things that we're learning, welcome back to the show, by the way. One of the things we're learning from the shutdown, from the shutdown theater that's happening and all the drama that's happening around it is there's been sort of this talk of the changing of the guard because, you know, you had the old guard. You had the Joe Biden, who's like 100, and Nancy Pelosi, who's like 100, and Chuck Schumer, who's like 100, and Bernie Sanders, who's like 100. And you kind of see, like, who is going to fill those shoes. Who, you know, the draft picks over here are starting to fill out. And a lot of people are saying that we're seeing a younger generation that's about to sweep in and take over. But I'm not so sure that's what we're going to get. What do you see in that, Dr. Bo?
Yes. Well, and thank you for having me back. And let me just say, I know there's no ageism in your characterization there. Just kidding. I agree with you. So the challengers to some of the established Democratic figures here that we're seeing are significantly younger, whether it's Graham Plattner, who's 40, taking on Governor Janet Mills in Maine, whether it's Justin Pearson, who's 30, taking on Representative Steve Cohen in Tennessee, who's 76. We could mention Seth Moulton, 46, in Massachusetts, taking on Senator Ed Markey. I agree with you that it's not clear many of these folks will win because they tend to be significantly more progressive. Some of them identify openly as Democratic socialists, and I'm not sure America's ready for that. I don't think so.
Well, I think a lot of people are expecting AOC to be the next big marquee star of the Democrat Party and the left, Team Blue politics in general. But I see her maybe sort of accidentally becoming the replacement to just Bernie Sanders. You know, she did that town hall with Bernie last week, and I think she may just end up being the standard bearer for the Bernie Sanders wing of the party only and not their main character.
Well, and I feel like that's a really insightful point. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course, associated with a group of representatives known in some quarters as the Squad. And so, of course, we could mention Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, but people who have kind of seen in the Democratic Party their more left-leaning energy and vision have pushed back a little bit. And so you do have some younger folks, Mickey Sherrill running for governor of New Jersey, Abigail Spanberger running for governor of Virginia. And they're referred to as the moderate squad, sometimes Mod Squad, and sort of making this point, look, age might be relevant, but we want to be really cautious just because somebody's older. You know, we want to be really cautious about advancing a radical economic vision. So, yeah, it could be that, you know, AOC and Bernie, you know, that's who they represent. I think there's a real struggle for the soul of the Democratic Party happening right now, and it's not clear who's going to win.
So, Dr. Bo, who would the standard bearer for the mainstream wing of the Democrat Party be? If not AOC, I kind of think it would be Gavin Newsom, but I don't think he can make the jump from California to national politics. I don't think he would resonate well, but I don't know who else I would put in place of him.
He's thinking about it for sure, I think. And, you know, the way he's pivoted on some social issues kind of suggests he's eyeing the national stage. Again, you know, let's see what happens in New Jersey and Virginia with Mickey Sherrill, especially. But it's hard to say. I mean, Pete Buttigieg is mentioned sometimes, my former classmate. And, you know, personally, I think maybe he should wait a few years. But I think you're right about Newsom, although Newsom as the moderate is certainly positioning himself at the moment to be that moderate standard bearer.
Well, Dr. Bo, I think that anytime we have this conversation, or I see other people having this conversation, I would advise people to include Jasmine Crockett in that conversation. I know she makes a lot of people roll their eyes now, but she kills it in the media interviews, and she does so well with social media and online, and the reaction I see from some of my friends and family who are Team Blue members, they absolutely love her. And I think she has a better chance of breaking out and being the standard bearer for the mainstream than an AOC, and definitely than like an Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib. I think she might be my second pick, only behind Gavin Newsom.
Fascinating. I would ask you why you see her as superior to AOC. I mean, she certainly gets attention, and I agree that sometimes in politics, there's no such thing as negative publicity. It's all positive. But, she to see her in a presidential debate, I'm not so sure. I mean, one other voice that I'll throw out there, Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, I think maybe would come across as steady and a little more moderate. So I guess you're asking the questions, but Jasmine Crockett, you don't think she's just a little extreme in terms of, some of the exchanges she's had.
Yeah, I think I know what you're asking here, and the reason why I would say she's more likely than an AOC is because she's not ideologically driven. AOC will come out and tell you she's a democratic socialist, and she has a lot of socialism stuff on the record. Where Jasmine Crockett sounds extreme, but it's just her language. Her ideology is more mainstream, and she's probably somebody that can, I don't want to say blow with the wind, but she can sort of tailor her platform to what is more politically palatable, where AOC has already come out and established that she's on the far left. She's with the Bernie Sanders. She wants socialized medicine. She wants all these other social programs that Jasmine Crockett will call you dirty words and kind of be clever about it, but she won't go full socialist.
Okay, interesting. Well, and to see who Bernie Sanders is endorsing, I mean, he's endorsed Graham Plattner in Maine, and to see who the Justice Democrats, the more socialist-leaning group on the Democratic side, is endorsing is interesting. I'm struck that even some of the folks who are known to have Democratic socialist tendencies, like Justin Pearson in Tennessee, are going to avoid the label because, after Trump has won again, people on the left are maybe starting to sense that that's a toxic label. So I don't know. You don't think that she's associated with Democratic socialism? I could be wrong on that, but I would see her as somewhat associated with it.
I mean, somewhat associated with it, as in she sits in the same room as some of these people, but she doesn't talk about economics. She doesn't talk about Marxism. She doesn't really talk about ideology much at all. She's just playing the game, and the reason she keeps getting called back to be on Meet the Press and Face the Nation and MSNBC is because she really does good with the media interviews, better than AOC does, I would say. And I think that's more important than being, ideologically sound or even, defined, really. It's just she plays the media game better. All right, Dr. Bo, I'm out of time there, but thank you very much.
So much.
It was a good chat.
Good chatting with you. Thank you so much for having me.
This is Mary in Mineral Wells. You're on WBAP. Hey, Mary.
Hey, Casey.
James, close enough.
I was just going to say, one, I agree with you. What seemed to have been just a lapse of judgment. I had no problem if they were playing in the ocean where they could see the baby, but to walk away and leave the baby by itself, to me, is a problem. I'm sure you've heard that. I've been listening to your show. But what else I have to say is I don't know how criminal it is. People, it seems like we've gone overboard not teaching our children responsibility according to their age. And two, I think they make things criminal. People used to have accidents with their children, and now they're arrested for that. And I do think that's not good. But having said all that, I want to say that the Bible says laws are for the lawless and the ungodly. And these people will do what's right. They'll get their children back. That's why there's laws that will be investigated. And on top of that, they're made for the laws are made for the crackheads that are going to just leave their kids at a party unattended where they're going to be abused, or go to a bar for hours and leave them sitting in the car. That's what the laws are for, and that's probably why we have a lot less of the child abductions than we did back in the 70s and 80s.
Okay, so is there any time limit when it would be okay to not have your 6-month-old within eyesight? You say leaving it for an hour is too long. What about if I just left it for 30 seconds?
I have no problem. Like I said, they could have gone and played in the ocean right there, or looked for seashells or whatever, and watched the baby from the ocean. I have no problem with that.
Right, but what
the problem is walking away. Because,
right. So how long can they stay?
Danger came, they did endanger their child.
Okay, so how long can they stay out of eyesight of the baby and it be okay? 0 seconds?
Well,
1 second?
It depends on the situation, where you're at, who else is there.
How about if you're on the beach under a tent? You're on a beach under a tent in a playpen.
Right, and the baby was safe. If it was a private beach and no one else was there. But it's evident that there were other people there because they called the law. So anybody could have taken that baby or harmed that baby.
Well, you say anybody.
And that's where the problem comes in.
Look, maybe it was a private beach and the people on the private beach next to them, like they were written the Airbnb next door. Maybe that's all it was. And so if it's dependent on whether or not it's a high traffic scenario, you may get a little more sympathy out of me, but let's I'm just trying to say, is there any scenario under which you would be okay with them leaving a baby out of eyesight for an hour? And that's what I'm trying to get. Because
you can have a barbecue in your backyard. You have to go in and take the meat in, blah, back and forth, and have the kids playing out back or have the baby. That's not a problem because it's a safe environment. There's not strangers there, people that you're not.
So is it the strangers
in that situation?
Right, but is it the strangers that make it intolerable?
Well, it's the fact that they left the baby where it could be endangered. It wasn't endangered, thank God. But it could have been. There were other people there that could have taken that baby instead of called the police.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's Marion Mineral Wells. I appreciate your call. Because there's no good answers on this. So, Tandy in Bedford, you're next up on The James Show on WBAP.
Yay.
Hey.
Hi. I love your show. I wish everybody listened to you because I think it's amazing, and I'm always sad when I miss it. But so my experience is that hindsight, okay? I want to know how those parents felt, if they felt bad. Oh, we lost track of time. Oh, no. My son was in his crib 6 to 9 months. I don't remember, but there was a storm outside, a dust storm in Arizona, and I stupidly ran out to go get my trash cans that were going to blow all the way down the street and lose them, and who knows what that would entail. And my gate closed and locked, and I freaked out for 10 minutes thinking I had left my baby safe and sound in his bed sleeping. But my husband will be home for a few hours. How am I going to get in my house? And thank God there was another door unlocked and I was able to get in. But those few moments of, oh my gosh, was just absolutely horrible. So I just can't even imagine leaving my child, no matter how safe it is, alone, and go far enough away that you can't get back to him quick enough.
Okay, but so does this rise to the level of criminal behavior? We all, a lot of people can agree that this isn't like optimal parenting or this isn't epic parenting, but is it criminal?
It might not be criminal, but my husband's half brother in Canada, his dad had gone to go visit him, and he walked into the house where his baby's mother and him should have been, and Christopher was in the house all by himself. And his dad freaked out. He took the baby, he got sole custody, and he never lived with his mom again. He could visit and stay with the mom. Don't know if she'd gone grocery shopping, don't know where she had gone, but she was not in the house. So she lost her child that day.
All right. Well, I feel like arguing, but you said you like the show and you listen every day, so I'll let you win this one. Thank you. That's Tandy in Bedford. Let's go to, a lot of women today. Jackie in Frisco. You're on WBAP. Hey, Jackie.
Hi, James. So, you're wrong. I'll tell you so much that it's outrageously negligent of the parents. Parents who do this kind of stuff will also go to a bar, leave their child sleeping in the car, saying, "Oh, well, I'll go check on the child once every hour, so they'll be okay." You cannot do that. What you're saying and your reasoning seems to say that once your child's born, you have to sit and stare at it and can't keep your eyes off of it. Seems to be your rationale, but that isn't reasonable. That doesn't make sense. The same parents who would do something like this would, why don't they just take their child to, I don't know, the mall? Go ahead and leave your baby in the food court by Chick-fil-A and go ahead and go shopping for an hour and hope that baby doesn't cry. Hope that baby isn't abducted. You cannot, I can't believe that you can understand why this is so irresponsible. And furthermore, these 3 other children, how many times have the parents done this? Did that happen to these other children? And if it is, if these other children saw this happening to their parents and being arrested, maybe that'll be a well lesson learned. God help that baby was okay this time. But there are perverts out there. There are weird people out there. There are mental people out there. You cannot, the lady who said, hey, I left my house and, went to get my trash cans blown down the street and I got locked out of my house. Well, that's something that is not criminal. That was not deliberate. These parents leaving their child, walking down, losing track of time, walking down the beach, that was deliberate, and that's the difference. So, I feel for these 3 other children to see this done to their 6-month-old, baby family member, but how many times did those parents leave those other 3 children?
I wish we knew the answers to those questions because I have a feeling, Jackie, the answer might be that was something that was regularly done to the other children too, and they turned out just fine. And I think it's far more traumatic to have the parents lose custody. Like, these kids are 3 states away around no other family members or friends or people that they know. And now they're not allowed to be with their parents. Their parents got arrested and taken away. They lost custody. And so then their 4 kids had to just be in some police facility waiting for relatives to drive in from Houston before they could see another person that they knew. So for hours at least, these children were separated from their parents. You don't think that's more traumatic than being allowed to take a nap unsupervised?
Well, tell me what on your timeline is it acceptable if the parents were gone for hours? What is your acceptable timeline? Okay, here now I draw the line from here. From this moment on, the parents should not have left the child. But you're saying that because they left him for an hour, and now family had to come in from hours away.
Can I answer? Okay, so it becomes a problem. You're a bad parent if something bad happens to the baby. And of course, I don't think it's infinity amount of time because at some point the baby will...
that chance? Why would you take the chance on the odds that nothing would happen to my baby?
Because Jackie, you take a chance with your kid's life every time you put them in a car and drive to the store to get a pack of smokes. And I know I'm not saying you're a smoker. I'm just saying we do dangerous things and we accept risk. We can't live a 100% Nerf safe lifestyle, and we take calculated risks with our children every day. When we let them play football, there's going to be some kid that goes head first and some other kid, and he's going to get paralyzed, like Jason Street and Friday Night Lights. There's going to be some kid that's out there having practice after school, and there's going to be lightning that strikes the field goal pole, and he was standing too close to it, and he got messed up. You're going to have kids, and you're going to allow them to have a dog, and some kid's going to get attacked by a dog. You're going to have a kid, and some of them are going to wander out into the street at some point, even if you do everything right. There's an acceptable level of risk for kids, and it's above 0. And it sounds like a lot of people have a hard time dealing with that. Do you know what? You can't remove all risk from your children's lives, and you don't want to remove all risk from your children's lives. So
the point being, though, the difference is my gosh, the difference is that there are irresponsible, would the parents have been irresponsible had something, what if something had have happened to that child? Let's just say this. Glad that the child, nothing happened to that. I'll guarantee you those adults had some water to drink while they were walking their 1 hour plus, trek down the beach. That baby didn't have any water. The baby is helpless, can't speak for itself. How do you know that baby wasn't dehydrated? I'm glad it had a clean diet.
Because they the cops ran vitals on the baby and it wasn't dehydrated. There was no negative consequences that were visited to any of the children, baby included, medically speaking, physically speaking, criminally speaking. This is a victimless crime. And so for some people, this seems, whoa, this is so bad. Okay, you don't agree with the parenting style, but none of y'all are making the case that this is criminal behavior. Eric in Killeen, you're on WBAP.
Yes, sir. I just want to bring up a point. Maybe somebody could have sat with the baby and not called the cops. It's almost just as disturbing to come back and see a stranger standing there watching your kid. And
that's an interesting point. If you are concerned about the well-being of the baby, can't you just watch the baby without calling the cops?
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, I've gone to the grocery store, pulled up, parked, doors open. The remote didn't shut. They thought it did. And I sat there 20 minutes waiting for someone to come out. And when they did, I said, look, I've been here 20 minutes. Everything's been fine. Nobody's been in the car. But, they said, oh, I hit the button. It didn't go down. I'm sorry. I forgot,
Interesting.
Appreciate you staying. Again, we don't always have to jump to conclusions. And, there's a lot of unknown information. We don't know if maybe they had a toddler. They were walking an hour away. It doesn't mean they necessarily went far.
Good stuff. Yeah, well, you gave us a lot to think about. Eric and Colleen, that's a good point. Like, even if you disagree with it, even if you're concerned about the well-being of the baby, calling the cops is... People call the cops too fast these days, I believe. Let's go to... Who else disagrees? Catherine in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. You going to tell me I'm wrong, too?
Well, no, I think you're at one... I think you said something similar to this earlier. You're at one extreme. And some of these whiny bag mothers, and I'm not a mother, so y'all can put that in your hat when I talk here. But I think you're on one end, and some of those mothers are on the other end. That's extreme. I mean, the whole, throw them in jail, blah blah blah. That's extreme. Okay, so you're on the other end. Now, the middle is like we do here in Texas. Or at least it used to be this way when our people were little. My cousin left her 2 or 3 year old, probably 2. I was with her, and she locked us out of the car, and he was in there in his car seat. And I've seen that happen in my lifetime several times. But that particular day at Winn-Dixie, we did it. And everybody started gathering around. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, somebody called the police, of course, and it was a summer day. But Cameron's tough. He's an athlete. He was an athlete too, I'm sure. And anyway, they gave her a ticket. The good old-fashioned, whatever the word, wasn't negligence. It was something else. But,
a misdemeanor.
Yeah. It was just you overlooked, you made a mistake. Here's your ticket, blah, blah, blah. And that scared, what out of her. And she never did it again. And she has 3 kids. But that's about it, and I think that's all that was necessary. Now I have one more question, as you would say sometimes. Or is that Chris Crock?
Chris Crock.
Okay, anyway. What part, you said Walton Beach and Miramar something. I'm not familiar with the different beaches and what they're called. Is this on the Mexico side or the Atlantic side?
Oh, no, this is way up in the Panhandle on the Gulf of Mexico.
Panhandle.
Yeah, this is the only beach I've actually been to in Florida.
Yeah, me too. I've been to that one, and I've got pictures to prove it. Yeah. Well, you know what? There's nothing there. There's hardly anybody. I mean, when I went.
I know, this isn't the Jersey Shore. This is a remote beach where there's probably not anybody walking by. There's not homeless people that are looking for free tents, like someone who sent me that Facebook message. I wish I could read all these messages. Y'all have been great, though. I really love it when we disagree. Thank you, Catherine. All you people on hold, if you want to hang on, I'll talk to you after the show. But, it's a great discussion with no right or wrong answers, and I appreciate y'all being a part of it. Brian Adams brings his Roll with the Punches tour at American Airlines Center November 13th. Special guests Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. And you can listen to the WBAP Morning Show this week for your chance to win tickets. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.